David Hayes walked through the corridor of Meridian 7 Station, his uniform catching the strange light that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The station was the size of a small city, built by many hands across thousands of years. Each wall held symbols from dead languages. Each doorway opened to rooms that no human had ever seen before humans arrived in the galaxy 5 years ago. He was nervous. Hayes did not show his fear on his face, but his hands were tight into fists. He had been a military captain for 20 years, but this was different. Today he would stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy and ask them to listen. Today he would ask them to give humanity a seat at their table. The Grand Council chamber was exactly as impressive as he expected. It was vast. The ceiling climbed so high that Hayes had to lean his head back to see it. The walls were made of a dark metal that seemed to pull in the light. 5 large chairs sat in a circle. Each one was empty except for the figure sitting in it. The first chair held Ambassador. They were tall, their skin like stone. Their eyes were black holes with white centers. They never blinked, had been a council member for 340 years. He had seen civilizations rise and fall like tides. He looked at Hayes the way a teacher might look at a child who wandered into a classroom by accident. To his right sat Counselor Myra. They were different. Their skin was smooth and silver. They had 3 eyes instead of 2, and their voices sounded like wind through glass. Myra was young by council standards, only 170 years old, but her face was kind. When she looked at Hayes, he did not feel erased. The other 3 council members were less familiar to him. There was Vex from the Dominion, who communicated only through lights and colors that a translator box converted into words. There was Seven, a member of the Synthetics Collective, whose body looked like it was built from liquid metal. And finally, there was the Peaceful Communion representative, whose name Hayes could not pronounce. They looked like a cloud of organized mist. Sometimes their shape shifted. Sometimes they almost looked like nothing at all. Secretary General sat at a smaller desk, his hair falling over his forehead. He was human, but not from Earth. He had been born on a colony world 3 generations ago. He was the reason Hayes was here. Believed that humanity deserved a voice. He had argued for it for 2 years. Spoke first. His voice was deep and slow, like rocks grinding together. "Welcome, Captain Hayes. We have looked at your petition. We have read the documents your people sent. We understand that Earth wishes to claim one of the 6 permanent seats at this council. This is a serious matter. We do not approve such requests without careful thought." Hayes stepped forward. His legs moved without his permission. His body knew what to do even when his mind was still afraid. "I thank you for receiving me," he said. His voice was steady. "I am here to speak for all of humanity. We believe we are ready to join this council. We believe we should have a voice in the choices that shape our galaxy." A sound came from Vex. The translator box made it into words. "You believe, but belief is not evidence. You have not proven you are ready." Myra raised one of her hands. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but firm. "The question is not whether they are ready. The question is what ready means. We should hear what Captain Hayes has to say. Then we can decide if Earth has shown the signs of a civilization fit for this table." Turned his black eyes toward Myra. For a moment, Hayes thought he saw something cross the old's face. Anger, maybe, or disappointment. Then it was gone. "Very well," said. "Captain Hayes, tell us why humanity deserves this seat. Tell us why we should trust your people with a voice in galactic decisions." Hayes had prepared for this moment. He had practiced these words in his quarters every night for a week. But standing here, under the eyes of beings who had lived longer than his species had existed, the words felt small and weak. "Humanity has survived on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years," he began. "We faced challenges that would have destroyed other species. Our world is harsh, the gravity is high, the weather changes in ways that are dangerous. There is less water than some planets have, our sun is aggressive, and yet we survived. We learned, we grew. We built civilizations, we created art and music and science. We fell apart and built again. We made mistakes, terrible ones. We harmed each other and our world. But we never stopped trying to become better." The Peaceful Communion representative shifted. The mist that made up their body twisted into new shapes. The translator box made no sound. Perhaps they did not care to speak. Seven spoke next, their voice like wind through metal pipes. "The Synthetics Collective notes that humanity still wages war among itself. You still have nations that point weapons at each other. You are divided. How can we trust a divided species to represent the whole galaxy?" Hayes felt his chest get tight. This was the question he knew would come. "We are divided," he said, not lying. "But we are learning unity, and we have learned something that older species seem to forget. When we face problems together, when we stop fighting each other and fight the problem instead, we are strong. We survive things we should not survive. We create solutions that no one thought were possible. Our division is not weakness if we can choose to work together. And we can, we have, we do." Made a sound like rocks falling. It was his laugh. "Strong words, Captain Hayes, but words are easy. The Empire conquered 12 star systems before we even knew writing. The Federation has brought peace to the entire Outer Rim. The Synthetics Collective rebuilt civilization after the long darkness. What has humanity done? What has humanity achieved that compares?" The question hung in the air like a weapon. Hayes felt the weight of it. He felt the truth of it. Humanity was young. Humanity had done very little on the galactic scale. Compared to these civilizations, Earth was a baby that had just learned to walk. But Hayes had not come here to agree. He had come here to fight. "We have only been in the galaxy for 5 years," he said. His voice grew stronger. "We did not ask to be here. We did not ask to join this council. Your people came to us. You told us that we were now part of something bigger. But then you told us to wait. You told us that we were not ready. You told us that we were too young, too divided, too dangerous. But you were wrong about something. We are not asking permission anymore. We are claiming what is ours. The 6th seat is empty. It has been empty since the beginning of this council. It was always meant for someone. We believe it was meant for us." Silence filled the chamber. Hayes could hear the buzz of the station outside. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Stood slowly. His body was very tall when he stood. He looked down at Hayes from a height that seemed impossible. "You have spirit, human, I will grant you that. But spirit does not win wars or build empires or save civilizations. Come back to us in one cycle of your Earth's orbit. We will give you our decision then. Until that time, the 6th seat remains empty. You may observe our council meetings. You may learn how we work. Then you will know why your people are not ready." Walked toward the door. The other council members began to stand as well. The meeting was over. Hayes had spoken, and he had been found wanting. But as Myra passed him, she paused. Her 3 eyes looked at him with something that might have been hope. "Do not lose faith, Captain," she said very quietly. "The truth has a way of finding those Hayes could not sleep. The quarters they had given him were comfortable enough. The bed was soft. The air was clean. The walls displayed a view of Earth, blue and green and turning slowly in space. But his mind would not stop moving. He had failed, that much was clear. Had rejected him before he even finished speaking. 7 had attacked him with logic he could not counter, and the others had simply listened, unmoved, as if they were watching a video of something that had happened long ago and could not be changed. At 2 in the morning, station time, Hayes gave up on sleep. He dressed in the dark and walked into the corridors of Meridian 7. The station was quieter at night. The lights were dimmed to a pale blue. His footsteps echoed in the empty halls. He did not plan to go anywhere. He was just walking. But his feet knew where they wanted to go. They carried him down staircases he did not remember seeing. They took him through doors marked with symbols that made no sense. And finally, they stopped at a place that felt very old. The archive was not on any map they had given him. The door was dark and heavy, carved from something that looked like stone but felt warm. The symbols on the door were older than the ones in the halls above. Hayes could feel the age of them. They spoke of times before humans, before Earth, before the galaxy knew itself. The door slid open without him touching it. Inside was vast darkness. Then lights began to glow, soft and blue, coming from somewhere he could not see. The light revealed a chamber that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered in shelves. The shelves were covered in things, crystals that held data, books bound in leather, screens that glowed with old text. This was history. This was everything that had ever happened, kept safe in this one place. A figure moved in the darkness. It was shaped like a human, but Hayes knew it was not. The skin was too smooth. The eyes were too bright. When it spoke, the voice was neither male nor female. It was just a voice. "Most humans do not find their way here," the figure said. "But then, most humans have not been rejected by the council." Hayes stepped back. "Who are you?" "I am Archivist Lena," the figure said. "I maintain this place, I keep the records. I am not or synthetic. I am something else, a watcher, a keeper of truth. And you, Captain Hayes, look like you need truth right now." Lena moved closer. Hayes could see that her eyes were kind, even if her face was not quite human. "Why are you here?" Hayes asked. "I felt you approach. The archive knows when someone seeks it, when someone needs to know things that are hidden. Come, let me show you what the Council does not want you to see. Hayes followed her deeper into the archive. The shelves seemed to stretch up forever. Lena stopped before a crystal that glowed with an amber light. "Do you know where the Galactic Council comes from?" Lena asked. Hayes shook his head. He had never thought to ask. The Council had always been there as far as he knew. As long as humans had been in space, the Council had existed. "The Council was founded 12,000 years ago," Lena said. "It was built by civilizations that came before any of the ones that sit at the table now. Those old ones, the ones we call the architects, they saw what was coming. They saw chaos, they saw war, they saw suffering, so they built a council. They set up 6 seats, one for each of the species they believed would eventually dominate the galaxy. They left instructions, rules, laws, and prophecies." Lena touched the amber crystal. Images burst from it, floating in the air like ghosts. Hayes saw words written in a language he did not know, but somehow he understood them. He saw drawings of the 6 seats, and he saw a label beneath the last empty seat. His breath stopped. The label said Earth. "This is impossible," Hayes said. "How could the architects have known about Earth? We did not even have space travel until 50 years ago." "They knew," Lena said. "They knew because they had seen it. Humans appear in their records over and over. They called you the Fire Children, the unbreakable ones, the ones born from struggle. They knew you would come, and they left a seat for you." More images appeared. Hayes saw Earth's history unfolding before him. He saw the ice ages. He saw the fires that nearly destroyed the world. He saw the diseases that killed billions. He saw wars that seemed like the end of everything. And yet humans survived each one. They climbed out of the dirt again and again. "The Council members know this?" Hayes asked. Lena nodded slowly. "They know, but they do not want to accept it. Your presence here threatens everything they believe. For thousands of years, they have ruled the galaxy. They have decided who is worthy and who is not. They have told the younger species that they must earn their place through age and achievement. But the architects made the rules, not them. And the architects reserved a seat for humanity. If the Council admits this, everything changes. They must admit they are not the strongest. They must accept that they do not decide who is worthy. 7 and the others must face the fact that the rules were made by someone greater than they are." Hayes felt something crack open inside him. For his whole life, he had been taught to respect authority, to follow the rules, to accept the decisions of those who had more power, but this was different. This was a rule they could not admit, a truth they could not speak. "There is more," Lena said. She touched another crystal, this one deep red. The images that came were darker. Hayes saw humans dying. He saw civilizations burning. He saw Earth shaking itself apart. And he saw patterns, so many patterns, wars separated by exactly 150 years, plagues that came in cycles, disasters that seemed random but were not. "These are the tests," Lena said quietly. "The architects built Earth to test humanity, to forge them in fire. They wanted to create a species that was not just smart or strong. They wanted to create a species that could survive anything, a species that would never give up, a species that would choose kindness even after being hurt so many times. They put you through trials. They made sure Earth was harder than other worlds, harder than the ones they lived on, harder than the... They wanted humanity to earn their seat through struggle." Hayes felt sick. He thought of all the suffering on Earth. He thought of the families destroyed by war. He thought of the people who had died in plagues. He thought of the natural disasters that had killed millions. And all of it had been planned. All of it had been part of a test. "This is wrong," he said. "They should have told us. They should have asked." "They did what the architects ordered," Lena said. "The Council was not always in control of their own destiny. There are powers greater than they know, greater than I know, but I can tell you this. The tests are over. The time has come. You are ready. The Council knows you are ready. They are just afraid to say it." A new voice came from the darkness, a voice that was old and tired. "She speaks the truth." Hayes spun around. Counselor Myra stepped out of the shadows. She was still in her formal robes. Her 3 eyes were sad. "How long have you been here?" Hayes asked. "Long enough," Myra said. "I came to the archive after our meeting. I do this often. The Council members know about this place. We come when we need to remember why we do what we do. Lena, you should not have shown him these things. It was against the ancient laws." "The laws are old," Lena said without fear. "Some laws need to be broken when the time is right, and the time is right. He needs to know the truth." Myra looked at Hayes with sadness. The truth is a heavy thing to carry. Now that you know it, you cannot unknown it. The council is divided on what to do with you. Thinks you should be kept waiting. He thinks humans are dangerous. But I believe you are exactly what the galaxy needs. Someone who has survived the unsurvivable. Someone who knows that struggle makes you strong. She moved closer to Hayes. There is a way to prove yourself to them, but it will require courage. More courage than you showed in the council chamber. The council is not your enemy, Captain. Fear is your enemy. They are afraid of change. They are afraid of a truth that unmakes their power. You must show them that humans are not a threat. You must show them that humanity brings something new, something the galaxy has lost. What, Hayes asked, what does humanity bring? Myra's expression softened. Hope. The universe is very old. Most species become tired. They become comfortable. They stop taking risks. But humans are new. You still believe that tomorrow can be better than today. The council has not felt that belief in 10,000 years. Then she was gone, walking back into the shadows from which she had come. Lena touched his shoulder. Her hand was warm. The message came 3 days later. It was urgent. A distress signal had been received from the outer colonies. A human settlement called Haven 7, located on the planet 42B, had been found by a mining operation. They claimed the planet was in their territory. They were preparing to remove the human settlers by force. Hayes received the call in his quarters. It was Admiral James, commander of Earth Defense. His face on the screen was grave and serious. His hair was pulled back tight. His uniform was clean and sharp, but Hayes could see the worry in his eyes. We have 400 people on Haven 7, said. They were sent there 3 years ago to build a colony. They thought the area was empty. They thought they were acting within the Accords. Now they are telling them to leave or be forcibly removed. How long do we have? Hayes asked. 2 days, maybe less. They are sending ships. Our people cannot fight the Empire has weapons that are 10,000 times more powerful than anything we have. If this becomes a military conflict, our people will die. Hayes felt the weight of the council chamber come back. He remembered cold eyes. He remembered the certain belief that humans were weak and primitive. What do you recommend? Hayes asked. I can send a fleet to defend our people, said. It will not win, but it will buy time. It will show that humans will fight for their own. Maybe it will make them negotiate. Hayes shook his head slowly. Fighting was what they expected. Fighting was what would prove that humans were dangerous. But there had to be another way. There had to be. He remembered Myra's words. Hope. The galaxy has lost hope. Do not send a fleet, Hayes said. Send a diplomat. Send someone who can talk. Send someone who can find a solution that neither side has thought of yet. His face showed doubt. Sir, they have weapons. Talking will not stop weapons. Send the diplomat anyway, Hayes said. Send Commander. She is skilled. She is calm under pressure. And she is human. She will represent us with strength and wisdom. Nodded slowly. If this goes wrong, I will answer for it. If it goes wrong, I will answer for it, Hayes said. That is what leadership means. 4 hours later, Commander was on a small ship heading for Haven 7. She was young, only 34 years old. She had been born on the Mars colony and had never seen Earth until she was 18. She moved and spoke with quiet confidence. She did not need to shout to be heard. She did not need to make threats to be taken seriously. As her ship approached Haven 7, the battle cruiser was already in orbit. It was enormous. Its hull was like stone. Its weapons were visible even to human eyes, huge tubes that could burn entire cities into ash. Opened a communication channel. This is Commander of Earth. I am coming to speak with the Commander. I am not carrying weapons. I am not carrying soldiers. I am carrying only the desire to find a solution that works for both our peoples. The response came in a voice that was deep and cold. The Commander was named. He had lived for 260 years. He had commanded warships for most of that time. He had never been refused anything by anyone weaker than himself. Humans are wasting my time, said. You will evacuate the planet within 1 cycle. If you do not comply, we will remove you by force. Your choice is simple. Leave alive or die here. Did not argue, she did not beg, she did not threaten. She simply asked a question. Commander, before we make this choice, may I ask you something? There was a pause. You may ask, but your question will not change my decision. How long have they been mining this region? Asked. For 370 years, said, as if this was a fact that proved his dominion over the world. Then you must know what 42B contains, said. You must know that it is rich in thorium-243. You must know that the deposits are massive, large enough to supply your needs for centuries. This is why we will remove you, said. The thorium is ours. His voice remained calm. The thorium is in the crust and deep underground. Your mining operations have always taken the surface deposits. You have always left the deeper mines untouched because they are too close to where your workers have been. But what if the thorium was not just yours? What if it could benefit both our peoples? There was a long silence. When spoke again, there was something different in his voice. Curiosity, perhaps, or suspicion. What do you propose? He asked. A joint operation, said. Your people know how to mine. My people can work at temperatures and in conditions that your biology cannot tolerate. We have built settlements on Mars where it is far colder and more hostile than the deep mine environments. We could work the deep deposits. We could mine them safely. We could split the thorium equally. You keep what you have been taking from the surface. We take what we could extract from the depths. Both peoples benefit. The mining continues. No one has to die. Did not respond immediately. Hayes, watching from the station, held his breath. This was it. This was the moment where humanity proved what it was made of. Finally spoke. This is unexpected. The Empire does not usually negotiate with new species. Then it is time to begin, said. Humans have learned that cooperation makes us stronger than any single nation. Your species ruled alone for thousands of years. But your civilization did not fall because enemies defeated you. It grew stronger. Imagine what your civilization could become if you learned to build with others instead of against them. Hayes heard the words and understood what had done. She had not just proposed a solution. She had offered something he could not get any other way. She had offered him pride. She had offered him the chance to be the who brought a new age, the who showed that strength was not just power but wisdom. I will agree to your proposal, said. But this is a trial. If humans prove to be untrustworthy, if you steal from us or work less than you promised, we will destroy your colony and everyone in it. Do you understand? I understand, said, and I accept. Thank you, Commander, for your wisdom. The communication ended. Ship descended to Haven 7. The weapons were not fired. No colony was destroyed. Instead, the two species began to work together. The humans descended into the deep mines. They oversaw the surface operations. And for the first time in galactic history, a new species worked alongside an ancient power as an equal. The news reached Meridian 7 within hours. The council chamber erupted in debate. His face showed something that might have been rage, but it was hidden quickly beneath calm. 7's liquid metal form shifted and changed colors, showing emotion without words. The peaceful communion representative drifted in agitated patterns. But Councillor Myra smiled. When Hayes was called back to the council, his voice was different, not kind but not dismissive. It appears we underestimated your people's ability to solve problems, said. You turned a conflict into cooperation. That is not something most young species can do. Hayes stood before them, calm and confident. Humans know that strength comes in many forms. We know that the strongest choice is not always the loudest one. We know that a solution that helps both sides is better than a victory that leaves enemies behind. Pretty words, the peaceful communion said, their voice like wind through empty spaces. But words can hide truth. The council reconvened 2 days later. This time the chamber felt different. The air itself seemed to carry a different weight. Hayes could feel it as he entered. The council members were waiting, was present. Myra was there. 7 was shifting and moving restless. The peaceful communion drifted like smoke, and Vex was silent, their colors muted. Captain Hayes began, his voice echoing through the vast space. Your people have impressed us. The mines are producing more thorium than ever before. The human workers have shown discipline and skill, has sent a message praising your species' ability to work. This is unexpected. Hayes said nothing. He waited. This was not yet acceptance. This was not yet the seat. Myra leaned forward. The question before us remains the same, however. Should humanity have a permanent seat on this council? Should your people have a voice in decisions that affect the entire galaxy? The incidents at 42B shows that humans can solve problems. But solving one problem does not mean you are ready for the responsibilities of a council member. Then let me show you something else, Hayes said. He held up a small device. It was Earth technology. This is a data cube. It contains information about a breakthrough in renewable energy technology. My people have developed a new system for converting stellar radiation directly into usable power. The efficiency rate is beyond anything currently in the galaxy. With this technology, every civilization could increase their power output by 40%. Hayes placed the cube on a table. It glowed softly. This technology could make your civilization richer, he continued. It could give you more power, more resources, more security, but we are not asking for payment. We are not asking for control over it. We are giving it freely to every species in the galaxy. We are contributing to galactic development not because we expect reward, but because we believe all civilizations should prosper. Seven's form shifted to a bright silver. The Synthetics Collective rarely showed emotion, but this seemed to shake them. The peaceful communion drifted closer to the cube, as if drawn by the truth in it. Why, Vex's lights asked. The translator box converted it into words. Why would you give away such power? Because that is what humans do, Hayes said. We share. When one person has knowledge, they teach another. When one family has food, they give to their neighbor. This is not in our nature for the sake of loyalty to your council. It is in our nature because we are built for survival through cooperation. Alone, a human is weak, but together, humans are strong. And we believe the same is true for the galaxy. Together, all of us are stronger than any of us alone. His eyes narrowed. Hayes could see that the old understood something. Understanding did not mean agreement, but it was progress. You speak of cooperation, said, but there is something you must understand. For thousands of years, the Empire was the guardian of galactic peace. They have brought order to their regions. The Synthetics have rebuilt civilization from nothing. Each of us has earned our place through power and achievement. You are young. How do we know you are not a threat? This was the moment. Hayes had waited for this. He opened a communication channel to Earth. Dr. Foster appeared on screen. She was older, her hair, her face lined with the work of a life dedicated to science. She wore the blue uniform of Earth's Scientific Council. Dr. Foster said with surprise in his voice, "You are joining this discussion." "I am," Foster said. Her voice was calm and clear. "I have seen Captain Hayes present our renewable energy technology, but there is something else you should know. For the past 5 years, my team has been studying the patterns of development in established civilizations. We have looked at every major power in the galaxy, and I want to tell you what we found." A chart appeared on the screen. It showed data from thousands of years of galactic history. Every civilization, Foster said, eventually reaches a point where growth stops, where innovation becomes rare, where people become afraid of change. The Empire reached this point 1,200 years ago. Your achievements are great, but they are repetitions of old achievements. They reached this point 500 years ago. The Synthetics reached it 300 years ago. All of you are civilizations that are slowly declining, not in power, but in spirit. You have forgotten how to dream. Silence filled the chamber. It was not respectful silence, it was shock. Humans, Foster continued, are the only species in this galaxy still asking what if? We are the only ones still dreaming. We fail and get back up. We build and tear down and build again. We have not reached the point of stagnation because we are too young, but we have something the older civilizations have lost. We have hope, and that hope is contagious. If humanity joins the council, if you let our people share what we have with you, perhaps you will remember why you became great in the first place. The screen went dark. Foster's image was gone. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Myra raised one of her hands. "I believe," Myra said, "that what Dr. Foster has said is true, and I believe that humanity deserves a seat on this council. I vote yes." The Synthetics Collective's liquid metal form brightened. The Synthetics Collective has always valued innovation and growth. If humanity can bring these things, they are an asset to the council. 7 votes yes. Vex's lights changed colors slowly, moving from red to yellow to green. The Dominion votes yes. The peaceful communion drifted upward. Their form expanded and contracted. When they spoke, it was in a voice that sounded like many voices at once. The peaceful communion believes that peace comes from understanding. We have not understood humanity. Now we see that humanity can teach us. We vote yes. All eyes turned to, the ancient stood slowly, his black eyes fixed on Hayes. Hayes felt like he was being looked into, being judged by something far older and wiser than himself. "The Empire," said slowly, "has ruled alone for a very long time. We believed that strength came from isolation. We believed that younger species would weaken us. But I have lived 340 years. I have made the same kinds of decisions in the same ways for centuries. Perhaps Dr. Foster was right. Perhaps I have forgotten how to dream." Took a step toward Hayes. Humans have shown us that conflict can become cooperation. Humans have shown us that generosity is strength. Humans have shown us that the future can be different from the past. I am old, Captain Hayes. I am tired. And I am tired of being right all the time. The Empire votes yes. Humanity has earned its seat. The council chamber erupted in sound. Not all of it was celebration. Some of it was the sound of an old order changing into something new, but it was real. It was happening. Then spoke again, and his voice was firm and certain. But there is one thing that must be understood. The vote you have just heard is just the beginning. There are ancient laws, laws older than the Empire, that govern seats on this council. A vote is not enough. There must be a formal acceptance. There must be a ceremony, and you must understand what accepting this seat means. Walked to the empty sixth chair. He placed his hand on it. Whoever sits in this chair becomes responsible for the balance of the entire galaxy. The weight of billions of lives rests on every decision made from this position. The responsibility is immense. The burden is terrible. Are you truly ready for this, Captain Hayes? Is humanity truly ready? Hayes looked at the chair. He thought of Earth. He thought of End. He thought of Foster and her team working to bring hope back to a dying galaxy. He thought of the 400 people on Haven 7 who were learning to work with the... He thought of all the people on Earth. The ceremony took place in a hall that was older than any of the civilizations present. The walls were made of a material that predated the Empire by 10,000 years. The floor was carved with symbols from languages that no one living could read. This was the Hall of Acceptance. This was where all things that changed the galaxy came to be made real. Hayes stood before the council one last time, but this time there were others with him. President Monica Wright of Earth stood to his right. She was 73 years old, and she had dedicated her life to bringing peace to Earth. She had fought wars and ended them. She had built bridges between nations that had been enemies for centuries. She carried the weight of Earth on her shoulders the way Hayes carried it in his heart. Admiral stood to his left. He was in full military dress. His medals hung on his chest like a history of human conflict and human sacrifice. He had spent his life training to protect. Now he was here to witness a new kind of protection, a protection that came through unity with others, not through isolation. Dr. Foster was there as well. She represented Earth science. She represented the future. She represented the hope that the galaxy could be healed. And standing at the very back, in the shadows where she always preferred to be, was Archivist Lena. She had brought the ancient records. She had guided Hayes to the truth. And now she was here to witness the completion of something that had been planned for 12,000 years. Stood at the center of the hall, he held a crystal in both his hands. The crystal was older than anything on Earth. It had been touched by the hands of the architects themselves. It glowed with a pale green light. "The ancient laws are clear," said, his voice filling the hall. "A new member of the council must be chosen through trial and proven through action. Captain David Hayes has been tried. He has been tested. He has proven that humanity is worthy of a seat at the Council of All Worlds. I, speaking for the Empire and in recognition of the ancient laws, now recognize Earth as a full member of the Galactic Council." Walked forward and placed the crystal in Hayes' hands. The moment his skin touched it, the crystal blazed with light. It became white, so bright that everyone had to close their eyes. When the light faded, the crystal had changed. It now showed the colors of Earth, blue and green and white, the colors of home. "This crystal represents your power on the council," said. "It represents your right to speak. It represents your obligation to protect all who depend on us. You will carry it with you always. You will never put it down. And you will never forget that the weight of the galaxy rests in your hands." Hayes felt the crystal grow warm. It pulsed with a life of its own. He understood then what meant. This was not just a symbol. This was a living thing. It was alive with the hopes of billions. Myra came next. She held a scroll made of material that looked like silk but felt like steel. She opened it and read from it in the old language. Even though Hayes could not understand the words, he knew what they meant. They were a promise to uphold the laws, a promise to defend the innocent, a promise to never use the power of the Council against weaker species. When she finished, she placed the scroll in a case made of crystal and gave it to Hayes. "This is the oath of the Council," she said. "You are bound by it now, all of us are." 7 moved forward. Their liquid metal form took a shape that was almost human. When they spoke, it was in the voice of the Synthetics Collective, but it was also the voice of all the machines and computers and systems that worked across the galaxy. "Humanity represents growth," 7 said. You represent the future. The Synthetics Collective pledges to work with you, to learn from you, to build alongside you." They touched Hayes' shoulder and his skin tingled with electricity. It did not hurt. It felt like possibility. The peaceful communion floated forward. Their form had become almost solid, almost real. They drifted around Hayes, and as they did, he felt a deep sense of calm. He felt the weight of all the suffering in the galaxy, and he also felt the peace that came from knowing that the suffering could be healed. "We are glad you have come," they said. "We have waited for you." Finally, all 5 council members stood before the empty 6th chair. Together, they turned to look at Hayes. "Walk to the chair," commanded. "Sit, and let the galaxy know that a new era has begun." Hayes walked forward. Each step felt heavy. Each step felt important. When he reached the chair, he paused. He thought of everyone on Earth who had suffered so that this moment could come. He thought of the warriors who had fought to protect their homes. He thought of the scientists who had pushed forward into the unknown. He thought of the artists and musicians and poets who had kept the human spirit alive through the darkest times. He thought of the children who had been born into a world that was healing, that was growing, that was beginning to hope. Then he sat. The moment he sat, the chair blazed with light, the same light as the crystal, and for a moment Hayes felt like he was connected to every human being on Earth. He felt their fear and their hope. He felt their strength and their fragility. He felt them all, and he knew that he was carrying all of them with him. When the light faded, Hayes opened his eyes. He was sitting at the council table. The other 5 council members sat down as well, each in their own chair, and the 6th chair, Earth's chair, glowed with the colors of home. "Let it be known," declared, his voice echoing through the hall and into every corner of the galaxy, "that the 6th seat is empty no longer. Earth has claimed its place. Humanity has claimed its power, and the galaxy will never be the same." In the observation deck above, the humans who had come with Hayes began to cry. President Wright gripped the railing and looked up at the stars. Admiral stood at attention, his hand over his heart. Dr. Foster smiled, knowing that the future she had dreamed of was finally beginning. And in the archive below, Archivist Lena felt the ancient records shift. The prophecy had been fulfilled. The circle was complete. The architect's plan, set in motion 12,000 years ago, had finally come to pass. Hayes sat in silence for a moment, looking at each of the council members around the table. Black eyes were unreadable, but Hayes thought he saw respect in them. Myra's 3 eyes were bright with happiness. 7 shimmered with what might have been joy. The peaceful communion drifted peacefully, and Vex's colors were calm and settled. Then spoke. His voice was different now. It was not the voice of someone giving orders to an inferior. It was the voice of someone speaking to an equal. Captain Hayes said, "We have a problem. There has been a solar flare in the outer rim. It has knocked out communications for 3 colony worlds. We must decide how to respond. Do you have any thoughts?" Hayes felt the weight of the moment. This was his first decision as a council member. This was the moment where he would prove that Earth deserved its seat. He thought for a moment, then he spoke. "They have the most powerful communication systems," he said. "They have the fastest ships. The synthetics can calculate the best routes through the solar interference. And humans have learned to work together with species that are different from us. Let us each contribute what we are best at. Let us work as partners, not as rulers and subjects. That is what humanity offers the galaxy." Studied Hayes for a long moment. Then the old nodded. "That is wise," said. "Let us begin." The council began to work. Ideas flowed between them. Disagreements arose, but they were not conflicts. They were just different perspectives seeking the best solution. For the first time in thousands of years, the council was not a place where older species ruled over younger ones. It was a place where all beings were equal, all voices mattered, all perspectives had value. As the council worked, Hayes thought about the journey that had brought him here. He thought about the council chamber where he had been dismissed. He thought about the archive where he had learned the truth. He thought about Haven 7 and the joint mining operation that had changed everything. He thought about what Myra had said to him in the archive. Hope, the galaxy has lost hope. But hope was returning now. Hayes could feel it. In every decision the council made, hope was there. In every moment where beings that were ancient and tired chose to listen to someone young and new, hope was there. And hope, Hayes understood, was the most powerful thing in the galaxy. More powerful than weapons. More powerful than technology. More powerful than time itself. The ceremony ended with a celebration. Species that had never eaten together sat at the same table. Humans and drank together. And synthetics worked side by side to create art that none of them could have made alone. The peaceful communion drifted among everyone, touching them gently, reminding them that they were all connected. Later, when the celebration was quieting down, Counselor Myra came to Hayes and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" Hayes asked. "For reminding us why we became great in the first place," Myra said. "For bringing hope back to the galaxy. The architects were right. They were always right. Humanity is exactly what we needed." As the night went on, Hayes stood on a balcony overlooking Meridian 7 station. Below him, he could see the ships of a dozen species coming and going. He could see beings who had never met before learning to speak to each other. He could see the future being built, moment by moment, choice by choice. And above him, in the black sky where countless stars burned, he saw Earth. Small and blue and green, so very far away, and yet so very close to his heart. Hayes touched the crystal that hung around his neck. It was still warm. It would always be warm, he knew, because it carried within it the hopes of billions of humans who had survived the unsurvivable, who had learned to hope when the universe had tried to break them, who had chosen kindness and cooperation even when they were at their most desperate. Tomorrow there would be new challenges. The Council would face new problems. There would be disagreements and conflicts that had to be worked through, but Hayes knew something now that he had not known before. The galaxy was not a place ruled by the strong over the weak. It was a place where all beings, if they were brave enough to try, could learn to work together. And in that working together, in that cooperation and hope, the galaxy could finally become what it was always meant to be. A home for all who had the courage to claim it. For who had struggled and survived and learned to hope again and again. "Yes," Hayes said, "we are ready." Then he saw something that surprised him. He saw a smile. "Then let us look at truth," Hayes said. "They are mining more efficiently than ever before. Humans are building a new kind of colony, and both species are safer. That is not pretty words. That is real." Studied Hayes for a long moment. Then he turned to Myra. They exchanged a look that Hayes could not read. But he knew something had shifted. The Council could no longer claim that humans were not ready. Humans had done what they could not. Humans had found a way. "For the Council will test you again," she said. "They will create a crisis. They will see how you respond. They will watch to see if humanity really is different. Be ready, Captain Hayes. The galaxy is watching." Hayes walked back to his quarters in the light before dawn, but he did not sleep. He sat and watched Earth turn in the darkness, and he waited for whatever came next. Who searched for it? Then she was gone, and Hayes was alone in the vast chamber with only Secretary General beside him. "We knew this would happen," said, placing a hand on Hayes' shoulder. "They were never going to give you the seat on the first day, but you made them think about it. That is a start." Hayes looked at the empty sixth chair. It seemed bigger now than it had before. It seemed like a chair waiting for someone brave enough to sit in it. He did not know that beneath his feet, in the ancient archive chambers of Meridian 7, records were waiting to tell him why that seat had been empty all along.